Yield 5 minutes to my friend and colleague, the sponsor of this resolution, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker, and to my two distinguished colleagues who are taking the leadership on this time on the floor. I thank you for your graciousness in allowing us to bring up 944 and at the same time to recognize what is arguably an extraordinary and great moment in American history. For this man, Lieutenant General Russell Honore, the only word that comes to mind is that word great. There have been some great moments and great events in the last 7 years of this country that have threatened the very foundation of our country. The 9/11 in 2001 that launched the vicious attack on this country that led us into this extraordinary period of this war on terror. And then just 4 years later, a great catastrophe, one of the greatest natural disasters to ever hit the United States of America into the Gulf Coast of this country, Hurricane Katrina. Great events, great occasions bring forth the need to rise up to this occasion, and these great occasions, great men. We are here today to honor a great American, and we ought to pause for a moment and think about this word great that we're using to describe this great American, Lieutenant General Russell Honore. The word great means something of great magnificence. When that question was put to the great philosopher Aristotle, what does it take to be a great man? Aristotle said the first thing you've got to do is know thyself. Well, I'm here to tell you, Mr. Speaker, Russell Honore knew himself, and not only that, did he know who he was, Russell Honore knew whose he was, that he was foremost and first of all a child of God that had been brought on this earth for a great need and a great occasion. Later on in history, that question was put to the great Roman general and soldier, Marcus Aurelius. The question was put to Marcus Aurelius, what does it take to be a great man? Marcus Aurelius said, in order to be a great man, you must first of all discipline yourself. And so much has been said about the great soldiering of this great American. The hallmark word is discipline, focus. He endured hardness and toughness as a good soldier. And through that discipline came the loyalty, came the courage that it took to fight in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But more than that, to expound the toughness and the discipline that was needed to our fellow soldiers that came under his care. For there is no greater thing of General Honore than the love of his soldiers. And he exemplified that by heading up the commandant post in my district at Fort Gillem, Georgia. For 3/4 of the National Guard that had to be positioned, had to be trained, had to be deployed into the war zones, came through the hand of Russell Honore at Fort Gillem in Clayton County in Forest Park in Georgia in my congressional district. And finally, that question was put to the great Messiah and prophet Jesus Christ when he was asked, Jesus, what does it take to be a great man? And Jesus replied, first of all, in order to be a great man, you must sacrifice yourself. And oh, what a great sacrifice. And you must love your fellow man as you do yourself. And what greater exemplary of that was in going down into Katrina and not just soldiering, not just taking the time to protect the area, but clothing the people there, finding food and shelter for them, and taking the time to stop beside the road of the agony that they were experiencing, put their arm around them, and help that Gulf Coast to recovery. Yes, greatness is the word for General Russell Honore, and we are so grateful for him, for the role that he has played, and for the greatness of this man, for he came at the most opportune time to provide the most opportune service, and he is truly a great American serving a great nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman's time has expired.